Welcome back to yet another class of English, class 8. Uh, Today we will be discussing a new part in English grammar, that is the parts of a sentence. If you remember, in yesterday's class or in the last class, so to say, we discussed kinds of sentences. We discussed what an assertive sentence is. It is a statement. For example, I am teaching grammar and information. That is an assertive sentence. The second sentence is an interrogative sentence. That is a question. What's your name? Where are you going? Do you have your breakfast? Do you like apples? These kinds of questions, all of them come under the interrogative sentence. We discussed this yesterday, if you remember. And the third kind of sentence is an imperative sentence, which gives you an order or a command or even a request. For example, please sit down. It is a request. It's an imperative sentence. May I borrow your pen? It's a permission. Again, a question, interrogative sentence. Do you want to talk to me over the phone? This is again a question starting with a verb, a helping verb, be verb, so to say. So this is also a question. And the last kind of sentence is the exclamatory sentence, which expresses a strange feeling like sorrow, alas, India has lost the match. Joy, oh, what a wonderful flower that is. What a huge building it is. Disgust, a sentence expressing disgust. How stupid you are. How stingy you are. Sometimes joy, how clever you are. So these kinds of sentence, this kind of particular sentence which expresses a strange feeling is known as exclamatory sentence. And you know, an exclamatory sentence will have a mark of exclamation at the end. You must remember this. So with this recapitulation, let us get into the parts of a sentence today. You see, our body has different parts and each part has its own function, has its own role. In the same way, a sentence is made of different parts, you know. So every part has a kind of significance, has an importance. So what kinds of parts, what are the different parts that are found in a sentence? That's going to be the topic of discussion today. Now as you see here, John made a kite. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 words in a sentence, in this particular sentence. So all the 4 words make the sentence. So the most important word in this sentence is nothing but John. Because John is the subject word. Without John, the sentence will not make sense. It will be incomplete. Therefore, the subject is required to make the sentence a full one. So, John made a kite. So, John is a subject word. You can also call it as subject of the sentence. Then comes a verb. So, the subject is followed by a verb. And what is a verb here? It is made. It is the second part or the past form of make. So, make, made, making. V1, V2, V3 and V4. Every verb has some 4 parts. So here we have the second form, that is V2, which is the past. So John, subject word, followed by made, which is a verb again, and a kite. It's an article, a kite. Kite is the object here. Now why do I call this an object? Because it answers the question, what? John made a kite. What did John make? He made a kite. So the word kite answers the question, what? Therefore, one thing is clear. An object is a word which answers the question, what? Here, the kite answers the question, what? What did John make? Obviously a kite. Therefore, the kite becomes an object. And you call this as a direct object. In English grammar, there are 2 objects. One is the direct object and the other one is an indirect object. We'll come to the indirect object later on. But for the time being, you must focus on this particular word, that is a kite. So coming back, John is the subject word because that is the most important part of the sentence, without which the sentence would have no meaning. And the subject word again is followed by the second form of the verb, that is the past form of the verb made. And again finally you have a kite, which is a direct object. I hope you are with me so far. It's clear, I believe. Now look at the second sentence. Paul stole the money. Who stole the money? Paul stole the money. So obviously Paul becomes the subject word here, or you can also call it as the subject. Second, stole. The second form once again, past form of steal. Paul stole the money. So here money again is the object, the direct object. Why is it a direct object? Because it answers the question what? So what did Paul steal? He stole money. So obviously the word money becomes the direct object. Okay? So from these two sentences, I believe you must have got an idea, and the idea, I suppose, should be based on the parts of the sentence. So a sentence has different parts. Obviously a subject word followed by a verb and a direct object. Now, let's come to this part, that is the indirect object. Now, a sentence will also have an indirect object. What is an indirect object? Look at the board carefully and listen to my explanation. You see, I gave him a pen. I repeat the sentence. I gave him a pen. So obviously I, which is the most important part of the sentence, that is the subject word, is the subject of the sentence. I, who, it answers the question who. I gave him a pen. Who gave him a pen? I gave him a pen. So obviously I is the subject word followed by a verb, that is the past tense of give. So I gave, a verb is there. And him. Now this is the part we need to focus on. There's a new word coming in, if you have noticed clearly. Him, a pen. Now what is him and what is a pen? Him is the indirect object. How to find out an indirect object? You ask a question, whom? Whom did I give a pen to? Whom did I give a pen to? Definitely to him. So the word which answers the question whom is certainly the indirect object. I gave him a pen. I repeat, whom did I give a pen to? I gave him a pen. So obviously it goes without saying that him is the indirect object. And then what is pen? A pen. Well, this pen is the direct object here. So, you need to keep one thing in mind, that is the direct object and the indirect object. Here students may get a little bit confused, but it's a very simple concept. The word which answers the question whom is the indirect object. And the word which answers the question what is a direct object. I hope it's clear now. So again, the word which answers the question whom is an indirect object, and the word that answers the question what becomes the direct object. So here in the sentence, as you see, you have him as an indirect object and a pen as the direct object. So coming back to the beginning, a sentence may have a subject verb, it might have a verb, it is also of a direct object, it may contain a direct object and an indirect object as well. So I have given you the list of some indirect objects. You see, him is an indirect object, her is an indirect object, them is an indirect object, us and you as well. So if you remember these keywords, you can definitely know what an indirect object is and how the indirect object is used in a sentence. Okay. Now look at this particular point. This is a point to be noted. You see, the white horse ran fast. I repeat the sentence, the white horse ran fast. Now, definitely, the white horse is the subject. You see, you have to take the words white and horse together here. But if you notice carefully, you will find the word white acting as an adjective here. Why? It qualifies the noun horse. Horse is a noun, and the word white qualifies. It speaks of the speciality. It speaks of the kind of the horse that is being used in the sentence. So obviously, white is an adjective. So it is an adjective followed by a noun. So two words make the subject. So the head word or the subject word is of two words. One is the adjective, that is white, followed by the noun, that is horse. Now there can be many examples for this particular kind of sentence. The angry boy beat his opponent or beat his neighbor. The huge crowd came out into the street. Huge crowd, angry boy. The green apple is lying on the table. Green apple. So green is obviously an adjective followed by a noun, apple. So sometimes you may have sentences like this as well. Now, look at this. The door was opened. This is not in the active form. When we discuss active and passive voice in later classes, I'll make the things a little clearer to you. But for time being, you see, was opened. This is a part you need to look into. Was is a V verb followed by past participle. The door was opened. So which is the subject here? It's an active, it's a passive voice. The sentence is in the passive form. But again, the subject is the door. So sentences can be written in active voice as well as passive voice. You must remember that. But when it is in the passive voice, definitely a helping verb will be followed by a past participle. And you see here the head word or the subject word is the door. Sentences can be written in passive. And again, you will have the subject in sentences which are passive in form as well. So I hope so far it might have been clear to you. I hope you are with me. And now let me take you to the last part of this class. That is, this is very important. List of verbs. All of you are remaining in your houses these days, I believe, because the entire country is going through a very difficult period. The country is in a lockdown state. So, since you have enough time in your house, take a grammar book, a good grammar book, for example, Renan Martin or Raymond Murphy, whatever book you like, a good grammar book, and look for the list of verbs. You have to make a list of verbs at home. Take a notebook and write down the list of verbs. V1, that is the present form. For example, eat. I eat apples. So eat is the V1, that is the first form of the verb, the present form of the verb. V2, I ate an apple. So V2 of V1, V2 of eat. V2 of eat is ate. And past participle, I have eaten an apple just now, eaten. So V3 of eat is eaten. I am eating an apple just now. V4 of eat is ing plus V1, that is the present form. So I am eating an apple. So you see V1, every verb has these forms. You must be thorough with that. You must understand that. V1, V2, V3, V4. Every verb has its forms, 4 major forms. Make a list of all these verbs, at least 100 words. You can definitely use your time in a constructive manner. Take a copybook, note down all the forms of verb, at least 100 verbs, and learn them. Because when the school starts, we will be discussing the different forms of verbs. And if you're thorough with the different forms of verbs, I tell you, you can write correct sentences. Writing correct sentences will not be a problem at all. You won't be making any grammatical mistake. Take my word. I tell you, take my word. If you are thorough with this. This is the spine of grammar. This is the basic of English grammar. This is the fundamental rule to learn the different forms of verb. And if you're thorough with these verbs, you will make or you will breeze through. What is the meaning of breeze through? You will find learning English grammar not only interesting, but you will become a master in writing correct sentences. So, dear students, don't waste your time. You can make a list of all these verbs and learn them thoroughly. You have to kind of find a word list, learn them and check them. You can sit with your mother or father or somebody who knows English and check it out. So, before we wind up, let me give you the gist of what we discussed today. We discussed the parts of a sentence, but before that you must know what kinds of sentences are there. And a sentence has a subject followed by a verb and a direct object. Sometimes there would be a direct object as well as an indirect object. So I have given you the list of indirect objects. You can see that over there. And then finally, sometimes a word, the subject word, will also have an adjective followed. So the white horse ran fast. I gave you some examples as well. Sometimes sentences may be written in the passive form, but again the head word will always be found there. So with this information, let's wind up today. Till we meet again, goodbye and take care. हो गया, लेकिन +9 का भी ले लेंगे, एक और लेंगे और उसके बाद या आपको लेना है, आप ले लीजिए।
नहीं, आप ले लीजिए, फिर मुझे भी 2 है, मैं भी एक साथ 2 ले लूँगी। आप अपना कर लीजिए।